The following is brought to you by the Starfleet Podcast Network, SPN, The Spin. What are you thinking? What are you feeling as you're driving to the studio to get more of this done?
Even on the day I'm shooting, and I shot the first day, right? I wanted to shoot the first day. I wanted to be done. To answer your question, I'm still in producer mode. I'm still like, okay, did Susie get the donuts? Did did we have enough toilet paper? Do I have the checkbook?
On a red alert.
Hi, this is BigJ. This is Beyond Trek Podcast. I'm here with special guest Alec Peters, and we're going to be talking about his fan production Axanar. There's a couple live streams that I was on that you did recently, and you've been pretty busy. Because there's been a lot of news about the update you have for Axanar. So I'll let you just take the floor right away and tell us what's been going on.
Wow. Well, we had a big shoot back in October, which was 3 days. And we shot 8 characters out of 17 that we have. Now we had, what did we have? We had... we had 9 in the can, I think. But anyway, right now we have 2 characters left to shoot. So that's 1 day of shooting, and we're done. We're done with principal photography. So that went really, really well. And for this year, we've basically been funded by 3 donors. Dave Lanyon and his partner Goodnison stepped in, and they run this kind of like self-improvement school together, and kind of like think Anthony Robbins meets spirituality.
Okay,
that's what they do, and they're very successful at it. And so Dave stepped in and just said that they were going to pay for the rest of Axanar, which is nice. We don't have to solicit donors. It's all about, the production. Dave and Goodney joined us on. He was in the comments on our live stream last night. I tried to get him into our year in review, but he couldn't handle the tech. So we got to figure that out. But anyway, we did our 2023 Axanar year in review live stream last night, which was great. And I usually have like Mark Edward Lewis, who's our editor, post-production supervisor, co-director. He's on it. He's been with me since like 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, and we just kind of updated everyone on because now we're like literally in post-production. Yes, we have 2 characters left to shoot, one of who we didn't get, and then one who we're reshooting. But that doesn't mean we don't, you can't start the post-production process. What Mark and I did earlier this year, well, what really Mark did, but I told him, this is what I want. And he did it, and it was great, is early on, once we did the January shoot, which was just 1 day, but it was 3 days, and we got, what did we get? We got 4 or 5 characters in that shoot. And so combined with the previous shoot from November 2021, which was J.G. Hertzler and Rob Hayes and Raj Kala, we now had about 9 characters out of the 17. And, or was it 11? Whatever it is, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
But so I said, you need to put in a timeline together now. I said, don't wait till the end. Do it now so we can see what we got. And what he did was Mark put together, all the actors and everything we had. We have blank screens, obviously, where the VFX go. But for people who we hadn't shot yet, we just put a slug in. Like it might be like if it was me, it was a clip of me from Prelude.
Right.
And then we put a temp soundtrack on top of it. So you might have like, J.G. Hertzler saying his lines, but then it moves to someone who hasn't shot yet. So you might see a storyboard image of them. And then we all recorded temp dialogue on top of it. But what that did was it allowed us to lay out the 2 15-minute episodes and see what worked and what didn't work. And this is one of the things that we do that allows us to really plan really, really well. When you show up at one of our shoots, there's not a lot of fly by the seat of your pants. It's all planned out. It's plan your work your plan, right? It's real basic, but it's really important. Which is just one of the things that's different than most other fan films. God bless them.
Yeah. Can I pause you for just a second? I want to ask a question, just in case anyone watching or listening might be a little confused. But when you say you're filming characters and you film these characters, is this format going to be the same as Prelude to Axanar, where it's
exactly the same?
It's like a documentary format. You just have more people in this one than in Prelude. Right.
Okay. So when we couldn't make the movie, the settlement that we got with CBS was we couldn't make a movie. So we couldn't make the Axanar script, right?
Right.
So the logical thing to do was to change it to tell the story. And so I took the 2-hour feature film script and I chunked it down into 2 15-minute episodes, so 30 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically losing a lot of character stuff, right? You're losing all the little moments because you have to tell a story.
Yeah.
I'll say now, our former director, Rob Burnett, wanted to shoot the first 30 minutes of the movie. Well, a couple things. One, we were moving out of that studio. I was like, well, who's going to pay for that? Because, CBS basically bankrupted us with their lawsuit, even though no money from donors went into any aspect of the lawsuit, right? Mm-hmm. We had Winston and Strawn, the law firm, represent us pro bono. I paid for the actual cost, which is about $26,000.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, we were paying for a $15,000 a month studio. We were paying, and we ran out of money. And Rob was more interested in having a resume piece. He thought Axanar was going to be the way he'd break back into Hollywood. I was more interested in making a fan film, right? It was like, look, this is the story. Let's make this story. Let's tell this story. So doing the first 30 minutes of the movie made no sense. And I even went on the Axanar fan group, which is our Facebook group, and I did a poll. And I said, okay, people, how many people want to see the first 30 minutes of Axanar? How many people want to see the next 2 episodes, just like Prelude to Axanar, and get the entire story? And it was like 690 to 10.
Wow.
I was like, there you go, Rob.
Yeah. It's like a landslide.
You wanted proof? Here you go. No one wants to see the first 30 minutes. That's stupid. That was just a ridiculous idea. So that's what we've been working on. And, and of course, that was, so the settlement was January of 2017. And people were like, well, why is it taking so long? Well, 2017, we moved the studio across the country. So that's 2017. Then we moved the studio in May, and August, Crystal and I moved. So nothing was happening that year.
Right.
2018, we finished the bridge. We had our first event, Axanar, with a fully lit. The bridge was just spectacular. Because literally when the bridge went to Atlanta from LA, it was nothing but wood.
Okay.
Right? It could have been a TOS bridge for all you knew. Because it was just wood, no paint, no. So we finished it here. And that, thanks to, we had a great volunteer show up named Dana Wagner, who is now one of my best friends, lives right down the road. And he kind of spearheaded the whole thing because he's just like this amazing carpenter who built his own house.
Wow.
So he took, the structure and we put in all the electronics. He worked on all the electronics as well with another one of our volunteers, James Simpson. And then we got graphics. So Alexander Richardson, our art director, whom many of you know from our live stream, did every graphic on that, because all the panels are graphics, right? All the panels are touch screens. There's no toggle switches. right? There's no jelly bean buttons.
Right.
It's all flat panel. Every one of those panels had to be created. And there are 30 or 40 of them. I don't know. It's crazy. Each one is individually custom made.
I was about to ask, are they all independent?
Yeah,
Wow.
They're all different. So when you sit at environmental, you got environmental controls in front of you. And there's, funny little in-gags in all of them, of course. So Alexander did that. Then they had to do all the monitor graphics at eye level, because ours are not gels or translights. They're actual computer monitors. And those monitors are old school 3x4 size monitors that you can't even get anymore. We got them government surplus, right?
Yep.
And then up top are the massive view screens, which are actual TVs, right? So those actual LED TVs, LCD, whatever they are.
Right.
And the graphics had to be made for all that. So just an enormous amount of work went into that bridge. And then 2019 comes, we shoot Interlude there. We worked, I had hired another director because Rob Burnett had dropped out, and hired another director. I got to do a better job hiring directors.
It's trial and error.
Finally done. We hired this comic writer who's just a disaster, who we're suing now, Paul Jenkins, because he filed a fraudulent copyright when we fired him.
Gotcha.
So what the good of what that happened was, I was like, you know what? I don't need a director telling me how this needs to work, especially someone who doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And that's what Paul didn't really know what he was doing. Rob knew what he was doing, but he wanted to do it to satisfy his ego, not to do what's best for the project. So I said, you know what? Enough of this shit. And so I broke the director's job up into two pieces.
Okay.
So Mark Edward Lewis, who's been with me forever and is one of my best friends, and was one of Richard's best friends. That's how we met. Richard Hatch introduced the two of us. And Mark is like here for the project, right? He doesn't have any ego. He's not in the industry. He's here to do great work. I said, Mark, I'm going to take the director job and I'm splitting it. I'm going to get my old acting coach, Ted Renetti, who's an amazing, amazing talent, one of the top acting coaches in the country. Was James Gandolfini's acting coach. His first coaching job was coaching George C. Scott and Jack Lemmon. How intimidating is that for him?
I bet.
Gosh. I said, Ted's going to direct the performances, but I need someone who's going to direct the camera. And I need it to look like the old, like Prelude to Axanar, right?
Right.
You need a consistent visual image.
And was that tough to do because of the space in between?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't. It's all camera work and lighting, right?
Yeah.
And Mark did a brilliant job of that. So he's given us visual consistency. When Paul came in to direct, he didn't like the way Prelude to Axanar was shot. Well, I'm sorry, too fracking bad, dude. That's the way we shot it. And the DP who did that knows a lot more about filmmaking than you do. So shut up and shoot it that way. Well, he didn't. Literally everything that was shot in the 3-day shoot in 2019 that Paul Jenkins directed, almost all of it was unusable.
Oh.
And so that's why I was like, and Jonathan Lane, who he writes Fan Film Factor, the amazing blog.
Yeah.
He had seen it all because he had done some work for us, some behind the scenes work. And he was like, "You're not going to like this, Alec." And I go, "Why?" He says, "Because you're not going to be able to use any of it." I said, "Why?" He says, "Because it doesn't look like it. Prelude. It's just kind of blah." Which I found. So anyway, that it's amazing. Necessity is the mother of invention. So, and through this, I've learned two things. One, I don't trust anyone anymore. Listen. As much as I trust my people now, Mark Edward Lewis or Jeff Fagan, our DP, or Jim Ross, our gaffer, or anyone, I trust them because they've been with me so long. The great, decent people with the right motives, right? I'm still like a lot more looking over their shoulder than I was, 4 years ago or 10 years ago. Not as, and I'm not anyone who knows me knows I'm not a micromanager. I don't have time for that. But
Right.
their job is to give me what I want. I'm the producer. My job is to give them what they need. Their job is to give me what I want. And Jeff Fagan, our DP, he's brilliant. Young guy and just like so worldly. And Mark. And so Mark knows I'm going to give Alec the same look as Prelude. Thank you. That's your job. Jeff Fagan's like, I'm going to give Mark what he needs to give you what you need, Alec, right? So we get along great. We now have had 3 shoots with the same exact team. Mark Edward Lewis as co-director, Ted Brunetti as co-director, Jeff Fagan as DP, and Jim Ross as gaffer. Along with, Crystal and I running things, and it's been brilliant. We've had 3 amazing shoots. Amazing shoots. The only issues we've ever had, which haven't been on our shoot, like some other people have shot, I always find the issues are always when you step out of that narrative, that documentary style box. Jeff and I talked about this recently. It's like, listen, as amazing as Prelude is, because it is amazing. I'll stand behind anyone and say it's the greatest Star Trek fan film of all time.
Absolutely. Love it.
Thank you. Great team that made that happen, right? I always say it wasn't me. I was just the executive producer. I was the guy that put it all together.
Well, and that was the first
people.
That was the first time I'd ever seen a fan film in that kind of format, which was new to me as a documentary. And I thought, wow, that was a pretty creative decision to do it as a documentary. I like it.
Yeah, and that all came from that was necessity is the mother of invention. It's like we wanted to do a proof of concept for our movie without building sets. Okay, how do you do that? You do it on green screen. Okay, well, what do you do? And I took there was this old MASH episode called The Interview, and it was all done in like this newsreel documentary style, where this newsreel team came in and they treated it really seriously, and it won an Emmy for a screenplay, and so I said that's how we're going to do it. And I remember telling my director at that point, Christian Gossett, this is what we're going to do. He was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I said, yeah, it's going to work. And it's so funny. We have a great story. J.G. Hertzler. I got to J.G. Hertzler through a mutual friend, and I pitched him, and he said, he read the script and he goes, Alec, this is never going to work. He says, really, a documentary? He says, and he goes on, and I say, JG, Richard read the script. He thinks it's going to be great. And JG's like, oh, well, who am I to argue with Richard Hatch? So he calls me back the next day. It's funny. Next day I get a call from JG. Alec, you know what? I read the script again. I hate to admit it, but Richard's right. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And it did. I mean, we took a big chance, and again, a lot of great people.
Because Richard was the first one, like of the actors from known sci-fi that you got on board. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So
okay.
The way casting worked was, I asked Richard first, because Richard and I go back to '93, and we were living there, and I'm not sure if he was in Valencia at the time, but we were both in Southern California. And I took him out, as I always say, I took him out for sushi and sake. Yeah. Which he loved. And let me tell you, as anyone who knows Richard, who went up to his table when he was alive at a convention, Richard will talk your ear off. And it's all genuine. And Richard's got that thing going where he knows intuitively, it was never an act, that he knew how to build rapport with people because he knew it was about the other person, not himself. Richard never talked about himself. He might talk about a role. He'll tell you why Tom Zarek was such a great character,
Right.
and why he wasn't a bad guy. Right.
It was a great character.
It was brilliant. God, it was brilliant. Ron Moore did Richard such a solid there, and but Richard was great that way. And so we sat down, and you put him and I and some sake together over a course of 2 hours, and there's a lot of talking happening. And we both, and so he was totally sold on it. So I have Richard Hatch. Then I talked to JG. JG's in. Then I talked to Gary Graham, who I met on the set of Renegades through Bing Bailey, who's our DIT. DIT is your colorist, and DIT is your digital ingest technician. He's the guy that sits at the shoot, and as the cameramen pull their memory cards out, they give them to the DIT, and he puts them on the hard drives. In our case, we have duplicates, so there's always redundancy. So he does that. So it's really like a computer position, right?
Right.
Which is what he does. He's a network engineer. And so Bing had introduced me to Gary Graham when we were on the set. I was a producer on Renegades. And so he was in. So that was 3. Then it was just a matter of getting Kate Vernon, and we did a meeting with her, and she loved it. And then we got Tony Todd. So we were very fortunate at a time when you were allowed to go out and do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we raised $100,000, which was way, we were asking for 10, and we raised 100, and we were able to make it. And so it was great, and I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot. It's so funny because I always want to deflect compliments to the people who did great work. Like, listen, Christian Gossett and I don't talk anymore. He was one of my best friends, and Axanar broke us up.
Oh, that's a shame. It really is.
He quit. He couldn't handle it, and he quit. Richard said he thought he was scared. Christian is a great artist. I still have his. If you're like comics, the Red Star, his graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
One of the best graphic novels of all time. You'll see if you had a view to my shelf right here. Kingdom Come, Planetary, Authority, JLA Avengers, and the Red Star. That's kind of like my top stuff. So I'm giving Christian plugs because listen, you can disagree with someone, but acknowledge what they do well.
Yes.
Christian did a great job with the actors, right? And that was what he really did. So he did a good job. The rest of the crew, we had a good producer, a good line producer, Jennifer, who brought in a great team. They everyone did. We had a great makeup team because we had Kevin Haney, who was Oscar winner, and then Rob Burnett edited it. So we had a lot of people doing great work on that, and that is really what the main job of a producer: raise the money, and then put the team together that can do what you want them to do. Right? Those are like the 2 main jobs that you have.
Now,
and
this might be. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this question might be oversimplifying things, but I want to go back to the difficulty you had with the directors. Was there at any point, any time where you said, "Okay, I'm going to just direct this"? Is it that something like that just completely unfeasible?
No. That's not something I wanted to do. That's something I may do in the future on smaller fan film projects, right?
Okay.
But when you so when we had Ted Bernetti, who's directed the performances on Axanar on the next 2 episodes, if you see him work, you're like, holy crap, he knows his stuff. Yeah, he knows how to get that actor to give us what we want, right? What do we need? And Ted and I talk about, we go through the script and we talk about each character and what we want and where they should be, and Ted will run them through a range of different things, and you see that and you go, well, that's a talent. That's knowing film. That's knowing theater. And most importantly, that's knowing actors, right? And knowing how actors work. Paul Jenkins didn't really understand how actors work. And J.G. Hertler just hated it. Rob Burnett wasn't much of an actor, wasn't much of a director for the actors, but he was very good technically.
Right.
He really understood the camera and the movement and framing, and he was really good technically. Right?
That reminds me of George Lucas. Good at the technical stuff. Really couldn't get the performances out of the actors.
Because that's not Lucas's gig, right? He's a storyteller. And that's where that's where like Spielberg is so good. Now, granted, he's been using the same DP for 40 years, but Spielberg. I mean, you never go to a Spielberg movie and go, that story was weak, right?
No, you never do.
You never go, oh God, the acting was kind of off, or no. Spielberg always delivers.
Yep.
Because he really understands the complete, the whole thing. And I don't. I know what I don't know. I'm not the technical guy. I don't know. Like if you ask me, well, what's the difference between a 30 and a 50 millimeter lens? And I go,
one's bigger.
Frack, if I know. One's wider lens and going to give you a wider angle than the other, but they're directors, really good directors are going to say, well, which shot do we over? They've got the science down.
Gotcha. Okay.
As well as the art, and this is the problem with fan films. No one knows what they're not good at, right?
Right.
Now, believe me, I'm not knocking fan films because I live in fan films, and there's different levels of fan films. I mean, Vance Major was here 2 days ago.
Yeah, I saw those pictures. That looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a blast, right? We had a blast. And Vance obviously makes... I asked Vance, because I had to write something about it in a legal filing. And I said, Vance, are you going to be really offended? I said, I got to say something about you in this legal filing, because he's the most prolific fan filmmaker around. I mean, the point was, you've basically been violating the fan film guidelines your entire career. And because you made 150 episodes. And it's supposed to be
right.
My point is that they let you make 150 because they weren't very good films, right? They're from a technical perspective.
It wasn't viewed as like studio competition level. Right. You're going to take business from us kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly. And he's not. He's doing it on his iPhone and he's wearing sneakers, and he doesn't care what uniform you have. Just have a Starfleet badge on, right?
Right.
I said, do you mind if I call your films low quality? Would you be offended if I say that? And he goes, no, hell, that's the truth. He says, he was really funny about that. So I never minimize other fan films because I want to watch them, and I so respect everyone who's doing them because they're doing it, right? We always laugh at the haters and say, what have you done?
Yes.
Right? See, back there is on the floor are the 9-sheet USS Ares blueprints that we give away to all our donors.
Oh, okay.
And I'm shipping them out, so I got to put them together. And this morning I was like, that blueprint set is more Star Trek fan fiction than almost every one of my haters has done combined.
Right. And that's a lot of fan fiction there. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Alexander did an amazing job. So you respect the fan fiction. You respect that everyone has different capabilities. For example, when I watch fan fiction, I'll let you have the bad story and I'll let you have the bad acting. But if your costumes suck, I'm out. You draw the line at the costumes?
Draw the line at the costumes. However, when you do good costumes, like Josh Irwin started using the Star Trek movie, the JJ movie costumes.
Yep.
And I was like, good move, because even the cheap versions of those costumes look really good. It's very easy to look good in those.
Yeah.
and like Josh just came out with Crisis on Infinite Excalibur, his fan film. Like, it's brilliant, man.
Excellent.
It's still a fan film. You look at it and go, okay, it's a fan film, but it's so good, right? They do such a great job.
It was excellent. I watched it twice. It was really good.
Yeah. I love the Czech project Star Trek Squadron. If you watch that one, when that came out a couple of years ago, I was promoting the hell out of it. It's brilliant. It's all next gen. It's Deep Space Nine era. It's brilliant. So there's good stuff, and you don't have to like Vance's little iPhone movies, but he's got 150 of them.
Right, exactly. And so that's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
To put in there.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. I'm not going to do that. So I really have a lot of respect for this. So it's difficult. It's hard to execute, to do stuff and execute well. People don't understand that. They don't get that. They think everything happens easy. So, and I was talking about our timeline. So we ran into a mediocre director, fired him, COVID hits.
Yeah.
We're out for COVID for a year and a half. We're in a lawsuit with this guy because he files a fraudulent copyright. And it just took us a while to get back our footing. I mean, saw a lot of people like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? I'm two minds. I'm like, I'm sorry. Did you donate? If you didn't donate, shut up. I'm not interested in hearing from you because you'll come out when it comes out. You got no stake in this. If you donated, we've been putting out updates ever since we started this project. So whether you're subscribed through your Indiegogo or Kickstarter or our email list, or you watch our blog and read our blog articles, or you watch our YouTube channel because we do video updates, we try and keep everyone really informed. And now we're going to come out on the 10th anniversary of Prelude, and that's kind of cool.
That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think one of the things that we have to remember is that for everyone involved, well, maybe not everyone, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not their main job. They're volunteering, or it's something part-time or on their free time, spare time. Now, sure, if this was their job, you probably could have had this done in a few months, sure. But it's hard to do. It's hard to get that free time to do a thing when you've got your regular job. You've got to keep the income coming in. You've got to feed the kids.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So yeah, I agree. It's a lot of work, but we're pretty excited. We and our new benefactors are just amazing. I can't say enough about Dave and Goodney. They're just too so excited, and so they both came down. Goodney is Icelandic, but he lives in Japan.
Okay.
He flew in for 2 days just to be part of it. Dave Landion's in Toronto. He flew down, and he was down there for 2 days and hosted our wrap party, which was wonderful. It was so wonderful having him there. It was wonderful having him at the wrap party too, because he got to meet everyone. And I was very mindful of who I sat around him, so he could meet Jeff and Mark and Ted Brunetti and Gary Graham. So having Dave there was wonderful. So so I think we've got something special going. Our last shoot is 2 characters. One was the last character we hadn't shot. The other character is a reshoot. So we cast someone in a role, and it didn't work. And it didn't work because he was too young. So he's supposed to be, it's the Klingon. So he's supposed to be an 80-year-old, 90-year-old, in human terms.
Right.
A very old Klingon, right?
Yeah.
The last thought admiral, as we call him. He's the Karn's mentor. And Richard was 70-something when he shot Axanar as it was. And so we had a really good actor playing him, and great costume, great makeup. He's a fine actor, and it just didn't work. We looked at it and go, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying that he's his mentor. It's just like, and
You said he was too young. Was that it?
he was too young.
Okay.
He was like 43. And we had the gray hair and everything, but we didn't have old age makeup, right? Because that's a whole nother thing. And so it didn't work really. And I said, Dave, I see this as a problem. And Dave was like, yeah, I see the same thing. I said, okay, so it's going to cost us X to reshoot that. And he said, that's fine. He said, yeah, let's do it right. So as a matter of fact, in about an hour, I have to make a phone call to an actor who we have asked to play that role. And I'm knocking wood that he says yes, because it'd be, him, and it'd be spectacular.
Now, yeah, you teased on the Christmas live stream that there were an actor or two that you were getting that you said you couldn't tell us who, but it was a big deal for you.
Yeah,
and this person's
got one.
Okay.
The other person, yeah, we got the other one, who was a friend. So I felt good.
That tease was evil, by the way. Let me just tell you.
What's that?
So that tease was evil, by the way.
So we got the other actor. I've known her for years, and I've been on her about this, and it worked out. Just her schedule worked out. And then this one, it's so funny how acting works. I love casting. I love it. I love talking to actors. I love explaining the roles. I love getting an actor interested in our project. I certainly love getting the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And so this actor is perfect for the part. It's hard to find a really old actor who's still acting. Like I'm like, who's 90? I need someone who's 90.
Right. That must be hard to come across.
Aren't a lot of people like that? Yeah. I'd love to get Danny Trejo. He looks like he's 90.
Oh,
even though he's right.
That would have been perfect. If he showed up in your film, then that would be, it's a wrap, people. This is it. This is
It would have been epic. I know.
The absolute epic fan film. Yes.
So we'll see. But and we're still going to use some of the footage of the other actor. Just make him a different character. So there's some lines he's got that will work. We'll just make him a different character.
Okay.
So that way we preserve, he's still in the film, and we preserve some of that work. I think that we all agree that that's going to work well. So you
were talking about the ages here, and we've been talking about that 10-year gap. Does that gap in the filming, in regards to the actors aging, just naturally aging, did that have a negative impact on the story? Was there anything that really had to change just because you all look older? Well, not all of you, but there may be some that just look older because it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, listen, I was real worried about myself. I mean, I'm 10 years older, and I think, I'm 63.
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was always funny. 10 years ago, people would say, oh, I must have gotten half a dozen times. I heard someone say, yeah, you look like a younger version of the guy that played the original Garth, which I thought was hysterical because, I was 53 when I made Prelude. I was like, dude, that guy was like 35 when he did.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Steve Einat died at 36.
Oh.
Yeah, he died really young.
I think everyone just looked older back then.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the guy, there's a reason he died at 36. It was a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
Smoking, drinking, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So anyway, so now, so listen, I'm very critical. For 63, I'm probably in the top 5% of all 63-year-olds as far as my fitness, and I look younger than I am and all.
Sure.
Plus, I'm fortunate, but I'm still 10 years older than I was last time.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making is you could still look great for your age now, but there's a difference. It's 10 years is 10 years.
Hopefully it's not going to be an issue.
Okay.
I mean, JG, kind of looked the same, and I mean, because and that's it. That's all who we've shot. Gary Graham looked older, but I don't think anyone's going to really notice.
He was already playing an older character.
Yeah, he's playing an older Saval anyway. He was old in the last one.
Yeah.
So I think we're in good. So I think it'll work out. I think it's fine. And we have some surprises, and we have 2 Andorians, and God, we're just some really cool. I think everyone will be blown away by 1 or 2 things that we do.
Now, here's a story that I want to hear from you in regards to when you're going to do that day of filming. So you're getting back in there, picking it back up. What are you thinking? What are you feeling as you're driving to the studio to get more of this done?
Well, listen, you even on the day I'm shooting, and I shot the first day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to shoot the first day. I wanted to be done, right? And I think we wound up splitting me into 2 days. I forget. But to answer your question, I'm still in producer mode. I'm still like, okay, did Susie get the donuts? Did did we have enough toilet paper? Do I have the checkbook? It's stuff like that. And then also, having a process in place, which Mark and Jeff were pretty good about. Like, okay, you need to be in Garth mode now, right? So it's like, they take my phone out of my hand, and but we were lucky in that one of my best friends from high school, going back almost 50 years now.
Yeah.
Billy Bianco, who's now a professor at University of Indiana, he flew out just to be part of it. He just wanted to be part of Star Trek, right?
Right.
So he flew out, and I just kind of made him. I said, okay, Billy is me when I'm Garth. Right? So if I'm playing Garth, you go to him. You don't talk to me. I'm not interested in hearing about it. If it's really bad, Billy will come to me.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, go to him. And that worked out really well because I knew my lines, not a problem. But you're now working with a director, and the director's asking, wants different things from you. And it's my job to give him all the different things he wants. And I was able to do that because I didn't have distractions. I'm lucky in that it's Garth, and it's a character I wrote. All of my, Axanar stuff I wrote. It's a character I love. So it's a lot easier for me to fall into Garth, right? If I was, if someone says, "Hey, Alec, we're casting you in whoever, Richard III or whatever."
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be because I'm not an actor, right? I'm not an actor.
Right.
I do acting the best I can, and I was fortunate to have some of the best acting coaches in the world. I mean,
Sure.
Howard Fine, who's one of the top 3 acting coaches in the country. Chris Pine is one of his students.
Oh, really? Okay.
Bradley Cooper is one of his students.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the young guy who played Elvis? He's one of his students. So, and then Ted Brunetti was one of my acting coaches, and Richard was one of my acting coaches. So I'm lucky for an amateur to have had access to such amazing teachers. But I'm still, I'm not an actor. I'm not a professional actor. I don't have that skill set. I always tell everyone, Ted and I had a good laugh with this because I told Ted this. I said, the best critique I got from Howard Fine, we just did a scene study, and it's not good. And Howard was like, "Alec, And he knew about it. I mean, because I was in that acting class in 2012, so I was 52 at the time, right? And they all knew me in class because there's all a bunch of 20-something-year-old kids trying to break into acting, right?
Yeah.
So I was the old man, and Howard's like, "You spent your entire life in your left brain. I need you to be in your right brain for acting." And I was like, okay, I got it. And that's hard. That's really, really hard. And I didn't learn. I mean, I wasn't good getting out of Howard's class. I got into Ted's class and I slowly started to get it. I was like, okay, I'm starting to get it. Because listen, the big revelation you have when you get into it, like, take anyone goes to an acting class, a serious acting class. And at some point in that process, you realize that acting is not what you thought it was.
Really?
Oh, no. Oh, I just need to pretend to be doing this. No, that's not it. It's not it. It's so this, and the simplest way I can put it is, when you see insert actor's name here on screen crying, they're not pretending to cry. They're really crying because there's something in their life that they've dredged up to put themselves where they need to be so they can cry.
Yeah.
That's why Howard always says acting costs you. And it's like you're constantly, for that tough stuff, you have to dredge shit up you don't want to dredge up.
Right.
We're all really good about pushing that shit down. Acting makes you dredge that shit up and deal with it, and which is, I say, and to Howard's credit, he's like, look, one of the best things you can have, once you get successful, one of the best things you can have is a therapist. He says you need a therapist to deal with all this shit,
right?
Because we're dredging shit up. You don't want to dredge up, but it's healthy.
The things you wanted to forget about, I'm sure. Yeah,
you don't want, and that's not an acting coach's job to help you deal with that shit, right?
Right.
Believe me, there are times when I watch TV differently, I watch movies differently, and there are times where are you a fan of Breaking Bad?
Oh, loved it. Yes, Breaking Bad. Very good.
Paul, final episode. When he goes through in that final episode, that final scene where he kills his captor.
Yep.
All the shit that's happening on his face, I was just like, where the fuck is he going?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine where I would have to go to find the shit that he's putting himself through right now to do what he was doing, right? It's amazing. It's, and another example I often give is the last scene, one of the last scenes in Picard season 2, with Q.
Yes. Yeah.
That scene at the end, when Q tells Picard he loves him, I say that's an easy scene for John Delancey, who is a magnificent actor, right? I'm not minimizing John Delancey.
Right.
He's magnificent. It's an easy scene for him because he's expressing joy and love and things, and he's revealing his true heart to Picard, right? That can be a very joyous, emotional state, right? Which it is. You look at Q, and Q is expressing his love for Picard. Legitimate love.
Yeah.
Right? Picard has had his shield up against Q for 7 fucking seasons.
Yep.
Excuse me, bleep that if you have to.
No, that's okay. It's not a kid's show. You're good.
Okay. He's had he hates Q and what Q's made him go through, right?
Yep.
He appreciated him in all good things, and in
I think probably Tapestry, yeah.
Yeah, Tapestry, right? But Picard won. Picard's the master of pushing shit down, right?
Yep.
That whole season is about his repressed memories.
You're right.
So he's repressed all this stuff, and he's he's a repressed individual, right? And here he is, and Q's telling him he loves him, and it's all dawning on Picard. And he's not, and Patrick doesn't say a word, right? He doesn't have any lines right there. I see Q's telling him he loves him, but what you see on Patrick Stewart's face, it's one of my favorite scenes of all of Star Trek, because Patrick, like, you can say what you want about Patrick Stewart as an actor playing Picard in Star Trek. It wasn't challenging, whatever. Okay, I'll disagree with you, but right then and there, he tells you why he's one of the best actors in the world.
Yeah.
What's happening here? Just watch what's happening here. It's amazing. You can see it all.
And it's a scene you never expected to see.
No. And you see it all because it's happening, right? Patrick is dredging up everything. Where he's finding something. I guarantee you, he's reading the script and he's reading the rehearsals. He's taking notes. He's thinking, where is this happen? Where's this happen in my life? How do I? Oh God, this is, and he's trying to find the touchstones in his emotional life that can get him where he needs to go, which is a wonderful place. Again, that scene is so great. It's Picard realizing that Q loves him, that it hasn't been malicious or sadistic, or he hasn't been toying with him.
There may have been some hard lessons, but
yes,
that's what it is. It's hard lessons. Some things you can't sugarcoat. Tough love. Yeah,
it's tough love. It is right, because Picard's always better he's always better at the end of the episode with Q, whatever it is. From the first time, from Q when he meets the Borg, they're better off knowing about it, to the end. He's always better off. And
Q did him a favor.
And so now he's embracing that emotion. So anyway, I'm going on about it, but it's so powerful. And again, I appreciate that so much, because I can step back and go, wow, what were these guys dealing with inside, that they're able to give us this magnificent performance, right? And I don't pretend to know, but it's fun to think about that.
With the character of Garth, was there any particular scene or line? It may be, I would think that with a documentary style, that there may not be a whole lot that you have to pull from emotionally, but was there something that was tough for you to be able to depict during all of this?
Yes. So Prelude to Axanar was all about, establishing Garth, and there was a lot of different stuff to establish Garth. And some of it was fun. There's a line where Garth says, she said she was tough. I want to see what she could take. Right? So in that, you're like, oh, that's kind of a typical captain swagger, right? Okay, so that's good. And then there's a time when he talks about the ones who didn't come back, right? And throughout it all, I wanted to make sure that we were slowly conveying that there was a hint, there's an undercurrent of PTSD throughout Prelude to Axanar. Yes. And which I will tell you is, I can tell you why that is, because when you're building that character of Garth, you're looking at Garth, and I'm looking back at the FASA material, and whatever I can find on Garth, and I'm like, greatest starship captain, as far, charted more star systems than any other captain in Starfleet history. Okay, so he's an explorer. Mm-hmm. He's not a warrior. He's the hero of Axanar. I'm like, in my story, he's a reluctant warrior. There's the famous bio of Patton called Genius for War. And I thought I think of Garth that way, genius for war. But unlike Patton, he doesn't want to be, right? That's not what he wants to be doing. He just happens to be really freaking good at it. And so that work that into the story. And we spent a lot of time, Christian and I in Prelude, spent a lot of time talking about that and watching the interviews in Band of Brothers. And watching Dick Winters and the other soldiers talking about.
Another great show, Band of Brothers.
It's brilliant. So you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see it. But it's the second Blu-ray set on my shelf right after From the Earth to the Moon.
Yeah.
And probably, I've had some wonderful compliments about Prelude to Axanar, about, people are always praising it. Once in a while, I get a nice compliment about the acting job I did. Gary Graham once said to me, he said, Alec, we weren't really sure you could do it, but yeah, you did it.
You did, because I thought up until today, when you said that you weren't an actor, I didn't know that you weren't an actor.
Oh, well,
I really didn't. I assumed this whole time that, yeah, he's an actor. I may not have seen anything he's been in, but this was convincing. Oh,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And the greatest compliment I got was someone, and I'm sure I have the email still, but they said, I really appreciated your acting. He said it was like I was watching Dick Winter, and we hadn't talked. I hadn't even really said much to many people about us looking at Band of Brothers, and I was like, holy smokes, really, this guy got that. I'm like, wow, is there anything better you can?
That's a hell of a compliment.
What I wanted to do, that was great. So that's kind of setting the stage for what you've asked me, which was, are the emotional things in the next two episodes. And at the end, without giving too much away, at the end, we talk about Karn, and the final line, which originally was the final line of the episode, but we felt it was a little bit of a downer, so we added some more after it, which is really nice. But there's a line in there about Karn, and it says, which says, he was impressive and unbowed, and I really wrote. So I write that about the way Garth feels about Karn, but it, in many ways, it's also about the way I feel about Richard, and so that was, we played a lot with it. Ted played a lot with that line with me, and even Jeff. Finally, there was one take where Jeff was like, "Oh my God, Alec, that was that was great," and I didn't feel it, but he saw it, so that was great. And and when we cut, man, there was a lot of tears on that set.
Oh, were there?
Because we all knew what it was about.
Yeah,
about Richard, and so so that was pretty heavy. But that's professional acting, professional crews especially understand that the sound stage, the area that the actors are performing is there's a certain amount of that, especially in emotional scenes where it's kind of a sacred space, right? And you got to respect everyone, especially the actors who are digging shit up.
Yeah.
Right. And going through stuff or whatever. It was, it was pretty heavy, but thank God it happened. And, we were all there for the right reasons. And, Mark was there. Mark knew, as I said, Mark was one of Richard's friends too. And I'm knocking wood that it comes out great.
Another piece of positive news that we got from Axanar was the return of Gary Graham. And I think that was huge. That was, it was really good to hear that he was returning. Now, was it a difficult task? Would it have really had an adverse effect on everything if you didn't have the Soval character return?
He was so good in Prelude. And he had some just truly great lines.
Yeah.
Prelude. Mm-hmm. So we would have missed him, certainly. But it was something that I was just going to make it Sarek instead of Soval and just cast a new Sarek, right?
Okay.
That was the backup plan. Unfortunately, Gary's a good guy, and we've been helping him out with his band, Sons of Kirk. And finally, we helped him out we've been working to help him out. I can't say we've helped him because he's had problems with his producer, but we've tried. We've done a bunch of stuff.
Sure.
And, and finally one day I said, "Hey, Gary, how about you do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think I can do that." So I like to play the guy. And so he wrote me a nice text message like the day before he was supposed to play it and said, "I'm really looking forward to playing Soval one last time." So that was nice. It was really nice.
That was, and that, if anything, that gives him a chance to reprise a role, which is, I think, a big plus. I would have liked to do that. So,
well, and you think about it, he was great in Alien Nation.
Oh yeah.
But really, Soval is going to be his claim to fame. When you write on your tombstone, that's first.
Yep.
And he's so good at it. Back for the Prelude days, I made him watch the scene between him and Vaughn Armstrong that takes place in the Vulcan embassy, or the Earth embassy.
I remember that. Yeah, when it got bombed.
When it gets bombed, right? That dialogue there, I said, "You need to watch this. This is it. This is right there. That's what you need to know." And because he plays, when you think about it, because in that scene, he basically said, Vaughn comes to the realization that the Vulcans fear Earth.
They do. Yeah, the Vulcans are afraid of Earth and the humans.
Are you fear Earth? He says. And Soval says, no other race has gotten to space as fast as you guys have.
And that they have the traits of, like, you're stubborn as Tellarites.
Right. Stubborn as Tellarites, as emotional as Andorians.
Yeah, and then at some random time, you'll embrace logic.
Yeah, right. And so he's really telling you, so when you're in Prelude, there's things that he's conveying as Soval, which is, he's conveying to you both the Vulcan position, but also he's basically saying, Klingons fucked up messing with Earth, right?
Yeah.
Don't push the pink skins to the thin ice.
Right.
And that's,
the humans will leave you alone. Earth won't bother you, but if you push them, if you provoke them, then it's game over.
Yeah. Yes, which is kind of the attitude I take in life at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, leave me alone. If you don't leave me alone, I'm just going to go Wolverine on your ass.
Right. Oh, I love it.
I just don't have the time for assholes in my life anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. Just go away. Because I always tell people, I don't have time to hate.
Who has that kind of time?
That's an emotion that takes time. I see these idiots spending all their day hating on me online. I'm like, there's a reason you guys you haven't amounted to anything. It's because that's, as we say in the law, res ipsa loquitur. The act speaks for itself. You're wasting all your time talking about me. Go out and do something. I think that's really important. And so I always say, successful people don't have time to hate.
They're too busy.
Right. And I would say, I don't see any doctors or lawyers or CEOs or successful entrepreneurs hating on me. That's, and that's why it doesn't bother me. It's like, sorry.
That's a good point. You don't see the head of a pharmaceutical company giving you a hard time or
VP for them.
Or a VP, right? So was there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
Speaking of all of that, was there ever a time where you just wanted to say, no, I'm done, I'm out, this is just not going to get finished?
No, never.
Good.
Never. I've never felt that way. I've always been, how is this going to get done? There were times when I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? But, so come hell or high water, you were going to get this done. Yeah, we were going to get it done. And we were just blessed this year. This year was just a huge year for us by getting Dave and Goodney and my other guy, they stepped up big time. And by stepping up the way they did, they just made a lot of people really happy. And me, most of all.
Yeah.
Took so much pressure off of me. And now we're, I can't wait. I mean, we're 7 months from releasing. It's going to be a hectic 7 months. But
I was about to ask you when you were estimating that you'd be releasing.
Yeah, we want to release the week before San Diego Comic-Con. So
okay.
We'll see. It's going to be tight. But we got a great team. So we will. I'll knock wood some more here, and we'll wish on it and work on it, and hopefully it'll come out great.
It's going to be a long 7 month wait, but we've gotten this far. So what's another 7 months? We'll get there. It'll get there, and it sounds like also that you're taking the time to make sure that it's right, and not rushing it to have it done quickly. Which, sure, you can do a rush job and have it not be what you want, but you're really taking that time to make sure that this is good. And we were talking about Crisis on Infinite Excaliburs, a little bit ago. And I talked to Joshua and Samuel about their film, and there were a couple release dates that they pushed up and made, got passed. And it was because there were some things that they saw and said, this could be better. If we add this will really help.
Right.
And instead of sticking with we want to release on Halloween or we want to release it on Black Friday,
right.
Instead of basing it on release date, it was, let's base it on the quality. When we're done, we're done.
Yes. Yeah. And Josh is a great filmmaker. He's done such an amazing job with the Avalon universe. There are times when I do screen caps of his stuff and send it to Jeff, my DP, and say, dude, this looks great. Look at this. And Josh is going to be doing an Axanar universe project. Not for me, like his own. He's got a project he wants to do that he's set in the or he said in the Avalon universe, but around the events of Axanar.
Okay.
So he's going to come down and film to the studio. So yeah, so there's and there are others I can't talk about them, but there are others people who are doing Axanar projects, which we're excited about.
Good.
So I'm in one or two of them, and so it's all good.
Are you going to keep reprising the role of Garth, or are you going to settle more into the behind the scenes part of it?
I don't have a burning desire to keep doing Garth. That being said, I want to work with Tyler Donovan and Josh.
Right.
And so I said, we need to come up with an idea, right? And Vance was this morning was saying, "Hey, we're going to do this, and we want you to be in it." Okay, that's cool. I would like to do the story of Garth when he's comes back to Starfleet after Whom Gods Destroy. We did a short video of that, and so I'd like to do that. I would love to do a story after that, and kind of had sketched something out that was it was meant to be like a Star Trek New Voyages story. And who knows? We may tackle that. We'll see. I'm not opposed, but it's also not. We're looking to move. We're going to be doing an Orville fan film next year, and we've got another big project that we're going to do. So, yeah. So,
looking forward to that too.
Yeah, Orville should be a lot of fun.
I really appreciate you taking out the time in your day to sit and talk with me and give me the updates and give all of us the updates on Axanar. Why don't you tell us where our listeners and viewers can find any of your social medias, stay up to date with Axanar and your production?
Sure. I am Alec Peters on Facebook. It's technically Alec Peters 2.
That damn other Alec Peters.
I know. Well, the funny thing was, there was another Alec Peters in law school a year ahead of me. It's crazy. And then there's Alec Peters, who was a basketball player who played at, I think it was Valparaiso, and then played in Greece. And I get Twitter messages for him all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm Alec at Axanar.com if you want to email me. Feel free to message me on Facebook. If you have questions, I'm always open for questions. Recently we posted all of our financials from 2004 to 2016, detailed financials. And I said, because people are still saying, Alex scam money or whatever. I said, here you go. Here's everything. So if someone had a question about that, they could come and ask me, and I'd be happy to sit and chat. We're talking about even getting an audit done just to tell people shut up. With all the people who have reviewed our financials in the past, some people still don't believe them.
I've seen all that stuff, the conversations you've had, and you're right. You are certainly open to answering those questions and having those conversations, which is a big thing. You're not a silent participant. If someone asks a question, you're there to answer it and try to put some clarity on it.
Yeah, why not? We had our lawyers reviewed our financials. 2 sets of accountants reviewed our financials. 1 prepared tax returns. We had an independent financial review committee. Some people still aren't satisfied. Can't help it. Moving on. So anyway, please reach out. I mean, and we're on YouTube, Axanar on YouTube. Just search Axanar, you'll find us. And Axanar, I think it's Axanar Film on Twitter, and Axanar Productions on Instagram, I think. So, but just hunt us down. There's an Axanar fan group that you can join on Facebook, and we urge everyone to join that. And if you want to get into the drama behind the scenes with the haters, you can join us at The Real Truth About Axanar on Facebook, where we're always talking about the bullshit the haters are saying.
I'm on that one. I'm in that group. So yeah, you're right. It's I think it's a good thing to have something where you can keep the fans of yours informed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, as everyone knows, I'm wide open. I've told people, if you want to come down and run through all our financial accounting books, perfectly happy to.
Yeah.
So we'll be, it's going to be we're planning to do a red carpet premiere the week before San Diego Comic-Con in LA at the Groundman's Chinese Theater, and it'll be open to everybody for free. So
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, not good that we're on time, but yeah. things are going well. We're pretty excited.
Good. Well, I'm for sure, for one, excited about the film, and just keep fighting the good fight, which you've been doing, and you've given us something to really look forward to. And I know a lot of people are excited that it feels like it's been a long road, but we're getting there. It feels like we're about there. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And anytime you need something, of course I'm there. It's great.
Where are you located?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So definitely Midwest guy.
Gotcha. Well, very, very cool. Well, stay warm, my friend.
I will do that. And thank you, and live long and prosper.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can support us at patreon.com/BeyondTrek.